In this video, we're going to quickly talk about two families. The first one is the mineral family, the mineral sensations, and the second one is about the dried fruits. But when I think of dried fruits, as I said in the beginning, I'm going to think about walnuts and stuff. So let's get started with the first one, which is the mineral sensations, mineral aromas, mineral notes. Let me tell you something from the beginning. When we think of mineral notes, we do not think about the taste again, because there is also in the taste components something called sapidity or salinity or minerality, but that's a totally different thing. Here really we are in the world of the olfactory analysis, we are in the world of smell in simple terms, we are in the world of aromas that we perceive on the nose. So these are the sensations that we identify once we smell the wine. What can they be? I'm gonna give you simple examples. Wet stone, wet sea rocks, beach pebbles, you can use them. You can use your imagination if you know some other rock types. One classic example is graphite. That substance that we have also when you write with the pencil. Graphite, it has a very distinct smell that I'm sure you're familiar with. Some of the wines can manifest such a smell. Chalk, very nice one. Something we used to use in primary schools. Chalk, so you know the smell, it's in your collective memory. Ink, ink is something also mineral. You can think of salt in terms of the smell of the salt. Some of the salt types really have this light but distinct mineral smell. So salt or salty stuff that you can think of can go well as an example for you to think about mineral notes, mineral aromas. You can think of tar. That's also a typical example, beautiful example that you may expect from wines that have been aged. Again, between parentheses, I want to say, after we complete our analysis of all of these descriptors, we're going to talk about primary, secondary, and tertiary aromas, and there we're going to see which descriptors can go well with what type of wine. These are not rules. I really don't like guiding you about this, because here I present you a beautiful methodology, which is about knowing all of these different families, and it's up to you then to use your imagination and use your skills to talk about the wine. But of course, you're not going to perceive tar from a white wine, or you're not going to perceive probably aromas of tar from a young red wine. This is not probable. This is not really likely. Then here, one classical example can be petroleum. Something made of hydrocarbons, something similar to petroleum is the classical. It's the easiest thing to note when it comes to the mineral sensations. Rieslings that have been aged for quite a long time manifest this typical petroleum feeling. So in this case, you need to consider this, you need to evaluate this identification under the family of mineral tones. Most of the time, you can really understand that there is some mineral sensation, mineral aromas coming from the wine. It is a great start if you can identify this, and it becomes a bit hard then to choose the right word, but with experience, you're going to find the right aroma that the wine hides for you. Then in this video, we said we're going to talk about the dried fruits. I'm going to say one last time, if you prefer, you can put into this category also dried figs, dried apricots, raisins, any dried fruit, dried apple, dried pineapple, whatever dried there is, you can put onto this category. But my mind works much better because the dried fruits have some sort of sweet sensation. They are sweet things, so I like to consider them under the category of fruits, and I use my imagination when it comes to giving details about them. Remember, I told you it's not about saying peach, but it's about saying mature peach. Cooked peach, even you could say cooked peach. If it's really dense and if it's really, sweety, the sensation on your nose, you could say cooked peach. So when I have to give such details when I present my fruits, I like adding these dried fruits there. I do not consider them in this different family. What do I put then in this dried fruit family? I think about, for example, almonds. From some exceptional white wines, there is this almond feeling. You will encounter, especially in Italian wines, this is something that will always find you, maybe from Friulano, from Verdicchio sometimes there's this almond feeling. Almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, pine nuts. It is a really classy thing to think about a pignoletto, for example, from the Liguria region. And if you can identify maybe pine nuts from that pignoletto, it's gonna be perfect because, of course, in Liguria there is pesto production, but I tell you, of course, doesn't have a logic. But such games, such plays are beautiful. For example, if I have this pignoletto that I'm drinking, and if I identify some nut feelings, some dried fruit feelings, maybe I'm gonna have a reason to say pine nut, because it just works much better when I take into consideration the spirit of Genova, spirit of Liguria as a region. Pistachio, that's also very nice dried fruit that we all know about. As a conclusion, I guess you can understand really well what the sensation is. Of course, it's a bit hard to understand all of these details, all of these aromas from a wine, but remember what I told you, you can always make another smelling, you know, you don't have to do it once, and you can help yourself a bit with the sipping. So try to sip the wine and then try to smell it again, because this, I'm sure, will help you much better when it comes to the right identification.